Welcome to the channel. This is Shreyas Bharadwaj, top 1%.fit, and in today's video I'll be reviewing the training program and the book of Greg Doucette, which is titled Harder Than Last Time.
How hard? Harder than last time. I promote train harder than last time. How hard? Harder than last time. You're gonna go harder than last time. Then the next time after that, if you're not sore, you're gonna go harder than last time. You train hard. How hard? Harder than yesterday. Harder than last time. Train harder than last time. You need to train harder than last time. Train harder than last time.
So, needless to say, train harder than last time is the core principle that Coach Greg preaches in all of his videos and even in this training book. And he is right for the most part. A lot of people are not training nearly as hard as they should be. A lot of people are slacking off in the gym and they need to train with more intent, more focus, and more effort. That's true. But it's not right to always train harder than last time. There are times when you have to back off, take it a little bit easy, and train smart and not just hard. He is right in the principles that he preaches, but at first glance, when people hear harder than last time, they automatically assume that's the mindset you need to always have. And that can be a bit misleading. It's more of a miscommunication, but that is what happens. So you need to be careful about this particular catchphrase, train harder than last time. If I were Coach Greg, I'd probably rebrand it to train smarter than last time. So does the quality of information given in this book justify the hefty price tag of $200? That's right, you heard it correct. $200, not rupees, $200. Anyways, so in this video, I'll be going into extensive detail talking about exactly what contents are present inside of this book and the quality of information given in this book. I'm going to explain it, simplify it for you, basically give you the summary so you can decide whether or not you should consider purchasing this book or not. I'll give a detailed review and rate this book towards the end of this video, so make sure you stay till the very end to know exactly what this book is all about. So let's get started right away. Alright, so first let's take a look at the table of contents and I'll summarize the information in this book. After the introduction, there's a section on mindset, which includes motivation, gym tradition, consistency, and realistic expectations, which are all incredibly important topics, especially for beginners who don't know where to begin with. He talks about cardio, which includes low intensity steady state cardio. That's what he suggests for the most part. He believes you should do 150 minutes of cardio per week, which is perfectly fine. And he suggests mostly doing incline treadmill walking. You can also do cycling or elliptical, any sort of cardio equipment in the gym, but if you're walking on the outside, you'll have to do about 2 times the amount of cardio as what you would do in the gym on incline treadmill, because that's how much you need to do in order to burn the same amount of calories. And coming to HIIT, high intensity interval training, he doesn't believe in doing HIIT. He may do it personally because he likes cycling, but he doesn't suggest it for those who want to build muscle and lose fat for bodybuilding purposes. And he's right for the most part. HIIT can have interference with your weight training and can cause recovery issues, but it can still be done with weight training if you manage it smartly and then know how to do HIIT. But he doesn't have any sort of information about different varieties of HIIT training in his book whatsoever. And then he talks about cardio on rest days and doing fasted cardio, and when it comes to that particular topic, he says doing cardio fasted can mean that you could possibly have lesser energy, which means the amount of work you do is possibly lesser, which is anecdotal. It's not really backed by science. Personally, I've noticed that doing cardio fasted doesn't really affect your energy level whatsoever. It's all about your mindset and being disciplined when you're doing cardio or weight training. And more importantly, when you're doing low intensity steady state cardio, energy is not really that much of an issue because you're not really challenging yourself to that extent. So you can do fasted cardio if you enjoy it. And right after cardio, he writes 1 page about diet, which is not really a part of this book. It's out of the scope of a training manual, but then again, it's a very important component of it, and I appreciate he writing about diet. Just the basics, but still it's quite important. After that, when it comes to weight training, he goes into the specifics of some basics that you need to know, but not necessarily into too much detail about progression and more advanced training techniques and all of that, which I think should have been a part of a book like this, especially when it costs $200. And coming to the training plans, there's 12 different training plans of both hypertrophy and strength training. There's no training plans for endurance or power, which could have been done, but then again, this book is focused on people who want to do bodybuilding. There's 60 minutes and 90 minutes workout plans, and I've noticed personally that it takes more time than what he has written. I'm including the warm-up time, the time it takes to travel to and back from the gym, and the extra rest that you might need. Actually, I took extra rest because I think I was training harder than I should have. Although he does specifically mention how to train, how to progress, how hard to train, and when to take it easy, but then again, the core principle of this book, the title of this book, Harder Than Last Time, somewhere deep inside, subconsciously, you end up training harder than you possibly should. And because of the high volume of this training program, it might be something you need to be careful about, otherwise you will get exhausted.
If you're natural, you have to train hard to build muscle. Not maybe, not down the road. Have to, as in you need to be able to build the muscle. Stop using your natural status as an excuse to not sleep properly, not eat properly, not train properly, not put effort in the gym.
And here's some other important principles he talks about in his book. In general, when you're training for hypertrophy, you want to keep time under tension in your mind, slow eccentrics, and then controlling the movement, feeling each rep. And when it comes to strength training, you want to be explosive in moving weight from point A to point B as fast as possible, right? That's how you handle heavy weights. And he talks about training with a rep range in mind and not training for a specific rep in mind. That's a very important tip in my opinion, something that I'd follow myself, because when you write down that you're going to do this particular amount of reps, you can't be sure exactly how many reps you have in the tank. Whereas if you have a range in mind, say 12 to 15 reps, you can be more accurate in reaching your goals. And then he talks about progression, reps in reserve, how to choose your weights while starting, and he suggests you start with conservative weights, start with about 30% less weights than what you think you can lift, because in general a lot of men have this ego, thinking they can lift a lot more than they actually can handle. So that's something I think is very good advice. And of course, the main way to progressively overload is by increasing weights, but apart from that, you can also increase the number of reps you do or increase the range of motion, focus on peak concentration, use resistance bands, and reduce the amount of rest you take, slow down your eccentric, all of these methods. And he also suggests you don't change your exercises from week to week. Take time in performing an exercise and perfecting it. Do an exercise for a long time. Don't fix what ain't broken, as simple as that, and do what you enjoy. That's how you get long-term results, and I think that's absolutely brilliant, great advice. All the basics that he talks about, it's on point. There's absolutely nothing to complain about. And his beliefs when it comes to deloads is that most people don't need deloads unless you actually plateau. And life in general throws curveballs towards your way in the form of injury or having to take time off from gym because you're traveling or you have work or any other personal issue. So deloads are not necessarily important. I think deloads can be important, especially as you get more and more advanced. When you're advanced, you definitely need to plan and execute deloads properly. Otherwise, you're not going to make proper progress. That's something he needs to get into more detail about. And stretching, he doesn't talk about stretching or mobility to that much extent, which is fine, but still it would have been nice to see a little more information on that. And coming to programming, how to plan your workout routine and all of that, he shows you exactly what you do and you understand it to a fair extent, but he doesn't teach you exactly how to program a workout routine. So if you want to make your own workout routine, you want to personalize it as you progress, this book doesn't really do justice to that part. But then again, the information in this book is top notch, so there's not much to complain about. And coming to frequently asked questions, this part is very simple, straight to the point, but it could include a little more than 3 pages, seeing as he doesn't go into extensive detail when it comes to programming and other parts when it comes to strength training and hypertrophy. Now that I've gone into proper detail of the contents of this book, let's now talk about the takeaways, aka the things that I really loved about this book and advice that I'd like to follow in my own workout routine.
Stop making it so complicated. It's not complicated. It's simple. So simple.
The first takeaway is going to be the book is simply as simple as it gets. It's well structured, it's properly organized, and even if you're a complete beginner who doesn't really know much about fitness, you can grab this book, just glance through it. It's really short, really simple. You'll understand everything you need to know, and just read it and then execute it, and you're done.
Train harder than last time with the proper exercises, with the proper intensity, and just do that. It's not a gimmick.
And the second takeaway is going to be solid advice on cardio and weight training. All the basic principles of cardio, the fundamentals of weight training is well set in place. You just follow this advice and you're going to get the results with time as you progressively overload. The third takeaway is going to be smartly organizing your exercise selection throughout the week. So for example, in this workout routine, you're going to be training legs as well as biceps in the same session. So typically what happens in a bodybuilding style workout routine is that you just choose one body part and then completely annihilate it. That's not the way we work over here. You're training your legs, and of course your legs are going to get fatigued. But guess what? Your upper body is sitting completely fresh and it is well recovered. So why not add in a little bit of volume to do some isolation exercise and distribute your volume more efficiently. It saves time, it makes working out a lot more fun, and it adds in variety, and your workouts feel just less monotonous. It's going to be much more effective that way. The fourth takeaway is going to be about one particular exercise, and this is something that worked really well for me and I enjoyed doing it, and that is doing the dumbbell skull crushers. And as soon as you fail with that, you get into a close grip bench press position using the dumbbells and then rep it out until you fail. So using this superset of dumbbell skull crushers and close grip bench press, it pumps up my triceps like absolutely nothing else I've ever done in my history of training triceps. So that's one of the best exercise combinations that I've tried out in my life, and I highly recommend you give it a shot as well. And now let's talk about the throwaways of this training program and basically the advice given in this book. The things that I didn't really like, and I wish it could have been something that was more elaborated on or something that was just explained better. So the first throwaway in this, it is sort of a contradiction, because one of the takeaways I talked about was how simple this book is, how well organized it is, and it's really simple to understand and then just execute, right? The flip side of that coin is that sometimes it's oversimplified. There's some things you need to delve into greater depth, especially as you get more and more experienced with your training. When you're a beginner, when you have less than say 6 months of training experience, you can do anything as long as your training routine is reasonably good and you're going to get the results, right? At that point, it's all about being consistent with your routine and then enjoying the process and just learning the basics. And as far as the basics are concerned, this book really nails it properly. But the problem is it doesn't really delve into the details that you need to talk about. It's way too brief, way too simplified for a book that costs $200. I expect a little more. And to justify this, Coach Greg says, nobody wants to read something that is so lengthy and detailed and a freaking 500-page book. No, coach. If somebody is willing to invest $200 into reading a book, they are sure as hell going to be willing to invest the time to soak in all the knowledge and understand everything that they need to know. This book is mainly geared towards most of people who want to gain muscle and lose fat. I understand that that's most of the general population, but it also needs to delve into a little bit detail when it comes to training for a competition, and then more advanced training techniques and injury prevention and all of that stuff, which becomes more and more important as you get experienced and you get results. And the second throwaway is a continuation of what I just talked about in the first point, and that is there is very little information and very little detail when it comes to injury prevention. It is something that I've dealt with personally in my 5 years of training, and anybody that puts in the time and effort to dedicate themselves to training, they are going to encounter it at some point of time. I understand that the programming in this book is not going under 5 reps, because that's when the chances of getting injured become more as your technique falters and you make mistakes when you're handling loads that heavy and when you're training with such intensity. He is treading around those corners very carefully in designing this training program, and that's pretty good. But then again, there needs to be more detail. You need to talk to people about how to train a particular body part. If you have an issue, let's say you have lower back pain, what do you do? What exercise do you swap out? And then how do you deal with this particular issue and then get back to training, how to rehab? And I know it might be asking for a little bit too much for a book that is focused on the general population, but then again, if you want it to be a complete quality training book, this is something that is essential. If I were to write a training book, this is something that I'd go into extensive detail about. So yeah, you need to talk about how to train as a beginner, how to progress to get to intermediate and then to advanced, and what if there's a roadblock, a chunk in your armor per se. You get injured, how do you deal with that? How do you recover back? How do you rehab? What exercise selections do you choose? How do you vary the exercise selections, how do you swap them in and out based on what's happening with you, all those things. It's a lot more detail that goes into this stuff. I'll stop blabbering about this point, but I hope you understand what I'm talking about. And the last but obvious throwaway of this book is, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? $200 for an ebook. I don't know what to say, man. When you're charging money for the time that you spend, like a personal consultation, training somebody in person, spending time with them, texting with them back and forth to prepare them for a competition or get them in shape or whatever it is, when you're spending your personal time, whatever money you charge is justified because that's your personal time. And if a person decides to go for you, even after understanding what price you charge, that's completely acceptable. But charging $200 for an ebook, it's a bit greedy, isn't it? This is something that Jeffrey Verity Schofield also talked about, and I completely agree with it. This book is simply overpriced, and the quality of information in this book, as good as it may be, as simple and effective as it may be, it can't be justified, at least not for me. I understand there are some people out there for whom money is not even a cause for concern, or people are out there who also want to support Coach Greg because they're a fan of his work and they just want to buy this product because they want to support him. In those cases, it's completely understandable, but for most of people, if you want to spend $200 towards your fitness, you'd rather get some home workout equipments. You can get a nice pull-up bar, a dip bar, a kettlebell, some resistance bands, all within $200. Save your $200. If you're really interested in getting a proper workout routine and you want to improve on your fitness, but you don't have $200 to spare, don't worry about it. Hit me up in my Instagram DMs or send me an email at top1person98@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to give you a free workout template so that you can try it out and then get the results that you want. And if you want to hire me as a coach, it's way reasonable than $200. So I would recommend you do that rather than spending $200 on a book. And now lastly, before I end the video, I want to talk about what I would like to see if there were to be a next version, Harder Than Last Time 2.0 per se, right? If there were to be a next version of this book, these are some of the changes that I'd like to see in this book. First of all, for each and every exercise that's mentioned in there, he just writes the name of the exercise and provides links for some of the exercises. But then you want to see a detailed explanation of how to perform each and every major movement, right? Classify the exercises based on the movement patterns and body parts and then explain how to do it. I understand it's pretty simple in times of internet. You just type the exercise name, you Google it, and then you got a tutorial. But then when you're paying $200, you want to take all the guesswork out of the picture, right? You want everything simplified and explained properly to you. So let's say you're talking about doing Romanian deadlifts. I'd want to see a picture demonstrating how to do this exercise and then cues to visualize this exercise, how to improve your technique, things to keep in mind when you're performing the exercise, a few tips here and there. And that kind of advice coming from someone with the experience and credibility of Coach Greg would actually mean a lot. It would be a lot of value. And apart from that, you could also put in a link for each and every exercise that's performed by making a YouTube video about it. It would take a few days of photo shoot to record each and every exercise and then just explain how to do it. It's pretty simple, and I'm sure every single person watching this review and everyone that's read this book would agree that that's something they would definitely like to see. And now it's time for the bottom line. Would I recommend purchasing this book? If you have $200 to spare and money is not at all a factor for you, sure, go ahead. It's a good resource. There's some good quality information in there. It is something that you can afford to go for, then why not? But if $200 seems like something that's ridiculous to you, like it is going to be for 99% of the people, don't go for this. Like I told you, invest in getting proper home training equipments. That would be much better. Go for other books that come for roughly 1/10 of this price and yet are equal or maybe even better in terms of quality of information provided in them. Books like Muscle and Strength Training Pyramid by Dr. Eric Hems, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger by Mike Matthews, or Jeffrey Verity Schofield's Sweat. All of those books are absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend you check out those books first before you shell $200 on this book. And that's all I'd like to say in this video, guys. There was quite a bit of criticism in this book. I'd like to tell you all that I am a fan of Coach Greg. He has one of the best YouTube channels in the fitness industry right now, and you should go and subscribe to his channel and check out some of the videos that he makes. He puts out like 2 or 3 videos per day, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it's impossible for you to check out all videos. And yeah, when the video frequency is so high, there is bound to be a lot of filler content, stuff that is just being put out because it's more marketable. But then again, of all the videos that he puts out each week, there's going to be something in there that's of value to you, and there's a lot you could learn from watching some of his best videos. So I recommend you go and do that. And the reason I criticize this book is because I wanted to be honest about my opinion, right? I'm not one of those guys who just talks good about a book just so that I can get more attention and just get a pat on the back from someone as credible, as big as Coach Greg. That's not me. So this is what I had to say about this book. Overall, it's good quality, but it's overpriced. And that's all I'd like to say in this video. It's gone on for far too long, but then again, I think a video like this, it deserves to be a long one because a lot of people are wondering whether or not they should purchase this book. A lot of people that have $200 to spare are wondering. Anyways, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you get all the notifications on time, and share this video to all your friends who are interested in fitness and are looking for a good fitness book to read, and hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, take care, stay hungry.